All right, version 1 of this poster, I'd like you to try this, where each area is going to be sort of blocked off with color. So you can see each area is kind of filled in with a variety of colors. For this one I used 4 colors and also the black, so there's 5 layers altogether with 5 colors altogether. You could also decide not to color in certain areas, like you might want something to just be white, like the color of the background in layer 0, which is completely fine. So I'm going to show you how to do this part. There are some changes that I made that I'll bring to your attention. I added some area or some lines and spaces to make the letters surround certain areas. So I want you to make note of this, the P in pancakes. You see how long that line is over there? So just keep an eye on it while I go to the other version. So let's go to Master Copy 2. Okay. So if you remember what it looked like, that line in the P, you see here how I have it go a little bit longer so you can see the difference between the two. Okay. You might also notice the space over here, the N in bacon. See how I added that little line in there, and I'm going to show you the reasons why I did that. One other one right here where there's a line in the C in bacon, it's not seen here. Okay, so as soon as you're happy with the way that this is laid out, we are going to flatten the image. So you're going to go down to the background, right click, and merge visible or flatten image. Does the same exact thing. So you have it in one layer. You are then going to think about where you're going to put some color in these spaces. So you want to consider having areas that are surrounded. So to get started, you can use the magic wand tool, and let's say that you want to put a color inside the B. You're going to select inside the B with the magic wand, so you can see that there's marching ants around it. You can see the marching ants around there. And you are going to put a color in there. So I'm going to add a new layer, and then I'm going to pick a color to use. So let's just go for just a yellow like that. And you can dump the color in. Okay, so you're going to be doing this in a lot of different places. Now notice I have 2 layers now. I have one layer that has the color and the other layer that has just the words. The words, you're not going to put any color in here. You're not changing this layer whatsoever. Anytime you're adding color, you're going to add it to a specific layer. What you can also do is you can double click on the name of the layer and change it to something that sort of makes sense. I'm going to call it yellow. So instead of doing one little space at a time, what you probably want to do is you want to go to your magic wand tool and you want to go to add to selection. And what this will allow you to do, make sure you're on layer 0, is to select individual white spaces. I can select inside there, I can select inside the F, around the C. And what you can do is if you make the words invisible, you can kind of see your process. So let's say you know you want to use 5 colors, 4 or 5 colors. You know that you want about like a quarter of the spaces to be filled in. So you're just going to keep going. In bacon, I have the strips, the individual spaces. Now the problem, what's going to happen is if you have an area that's not surrounded by anything, let's say I want to click where the A and the N are, like in this area right here. Let's get rid of everything else. I'm going to hit Command D to get rid of all the rest of the selection. Let's say I select here, I click, and I'm going to make this invisible for a second so you can see this area is crazy big. And the reason is when you use the magic wand tool and you select this white area, it's going to select up until it hits sort of like a wall. So you can see it's going to spill all the way up in here, all the way around. Now, even if like the words coffee, even if there was a space in between there, I'd have to block it off. So I found that with a lot of, you know, certain areas that it just spilled way over. Like on the bottom here, between the N and the C, because there's no space, there's no line blocking it off, it spilled all the way up and around. You can see how big that space is. So before you start adding your colors into spaces, like I did with the yellow, go to the layer 0, select the color black as your foreground color, use a brush that is a hard brush, and you can change the size by holding the brackets next to the P, and go around your design and find some areas where you can like block them off. So for example, right here where bacon is, I could create a barrier by going with a line, and I can make it very subtle looking. Just kind of put one here. I'll do one over here like I did in the sample. So I can just take this line and spread it out, make it look like it's a strip of bacon that kind of popped out there. If I want to put some space in between the eggs, I could just widen it so they touch in the middle. So some people do this very subtly, just extend the lines of the existing letters. And if you look at some samples in Artsonia, you'll see some where kids just used very, very thin lines. Like they just kind of randomly put a line across here to divide it, but just like a very thin one. So it's really up to you how sort of noticeable you want these lines to be. So you can go through all of your words. And in here, everything's kind of blocked off. Everything looks good. This will spill into this area, but that's okay. So everything's done on the layer that just has your letters. So you just want to reinforce those sort of barriers. So this is probably a big space right here. So I'm going to bring the K up and around, kind of seal that up so you can see this white area is going to be sealed off. And yeah, so you just keep kind of going around and making your decisions. If you want this to be sort of, you know, blocked off, walled off, you can bring out those handles a bit. You know, and it's a matter of how big or how small you want those colored spaces to be. And you won't need to do this for everything, like inside the O here. That's just already contained. In the strips, they're already contained, but let's say that in here you wanted this to be one color and this to be another color. You can come over here and, like I said, just create like a little barrier. Sorry, I switched over to a different tool. So something like that. So, like I said, I tend to do it so it looks a little bit kind of sneaky. So that's going to be the first step of this process. And then I'll show you how to select your colors and dump the colors in.